You were one of the most likable people I've ever talked to.
Dewey, you are too, man.
But like, you are so good at being an asshole. Like, you're so good at it. Why?
I don't know. Again, that's the job. It just happens to be the characters I get cast as, or the opportunity to play. Everyone wants to be the hero, and no one wants to play the villain. And I can't, with all the Chris's out there, with all the or what are their last names, Hemsworths, no one wants to play the villains. So it's the only work I can get.
Well, I got to tell you, what you do in the Survivor with Ben, and I talked to Ben recently, is probably some of the best work you've ever done. It really has. I mean,
thanks, man.
Phenomenal. But when you take on a project like that, I have to imagine there's a sense of like pressure due to the story and the subject matter. What was your process for preparing for that project?
Can we go back to the first point? It's like, I think, in this profession, in this career, I can't choose what jobs I get hired for. So like all my other jobs, I've been so blessed to have them and be a part of them, but it was the only opportunities I got in this world, to play a character like that. Now to get the opportunity with Barry Levinson directing and playing, Obersturm Dietrich Schneider, I honestly didn't approach, well, an actor does his job. He reads the script, breaks it down, and tries to do it to the best of his ability as he shows up to each project. Specifically for this one, I thought it was about his voice and the way he breathed life into the words and how he moved through the world. That's kind of what I focused on a lot with preparing this character outside of meeting Ben prior to shooting. It was just, that was the work I was creating, is the voice and like how the mannerisms of this man and like who he was. That was all the homework I did personally for it.
Why were the mannerisms that important to you?
I think it's funny, like the wardrobe alone influenced a lot of it, but I think a person in a position like that, there's a movement and there is this elegance of which he moves through the world and stature as he moves through the world. And again, I haven't had many opportunities to play characters with that much quote unquote power over people. So I think having that and not being forceful about it is the trick. Because like once you try to play someone that, if you try to be someone who has power, you look weak, So it's like building the opposite. It's a guy that has ease and elegance as he moves through the world is actually what has power, because he has no limitations, So that's kind of the mannerism aspect of it, I think.
Is balancing all that really the hardest part when you take on something like this?
The hardest part is always preparation, because I think you do all your work before showing up. Like that's how I always also attack theater. All the preparation is done before you actually do the performance. So once you're actually in the performance and what you're doing, you're trying to like literally breathe as that character. I'm trying to respond and be there present in that moment and portray Obersturm Dietrich Schneider the best I could without thinking about it. I was just there, So it's all the preparation and making these mannerisms and the way you move at home and like make that come alive so it's natural and feels authentic as you move through the world. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Of course that makes sense. I just let you talk. You always give me pearls of wisdom, Billy. You always fill in the gaps with what I'm trying to get at. Now, in terms of
in
terms of on set, okay, yeah. Ben alluded that he may have purposely avoided interactions with you during the process of filming, just to kind of help his process. Was that noticeable to you? Did you do the same?
Again, that working with Ben was like a very unique experience for myself. I have complete and total respect and like trust with a performer such the caliber such as him. It is a dance we're doing on screen. And that's the truth. But I trusted my partner as I hope he trusted me as we moved through it. The distance when it mattered, we were connected. We were there with each other, you know? I don't think, wow, that's an inch, like, we both kind of had that feeling, but again, we were from two different worlds, and the only opportunities we got were during our scenes and stuff like that. So it kind of filled in the world, and like, you know, Ben's process is a lot different from mine, which, you know, is the beauty of this, you know, communal kind of art form that exists. It only exists when we're all together creating it, and down to, you know, the grips and stuff like that. We're all creating this fantasy world. But in regards to acting, you know, I think there was just respect and trust as we moved through it more than anything. And I just, again, once we finished shooting our stuff, it was great to really meet Ben and have a drink with him and have a meal and like get to know him. And I like love the guy. But yeah, I would say during shooting, it wasn't like we were buddy and chum, you know? Yeah, it was a beautiful dance, but I didn't feel, I felt it was great. It was just a really, something just clicked and it worked, you know, with him and I.
Is it scary as hell to put that type of trust in another actor?
Yes. Yeah, I would say, yeah, 100%. And there's many times where I've also been the actor probably that lacked in the situation, or been the weak one in the scene. But shit, man, you got to let it go and just show up and do what you prepared. Like, as I've gone further and further down my career, you know, no one's paying you to be scared. No one's like, you know, they're paying you to do the job. So show up and do your job fully. That's why you're there. So there's no room for it, or I found it now.
Now, when I've talked to other actors for different projects, and I'll just reference one and I'll tie it into the question. Yeah. I recently talked to Jessica Biel about Candy, okay? And she made a reference to a piece of her look, her costume, that when she put this on, it immediately helped her kind of get into that character. For her, it was the glasses. That's when she really became Candy. Now, was there anything in your uniform? Was there a moment when you were getting ready that you put this part on and you were like, I'm there?
Listen, I'm not quote unquote method or anything like that. We're shooting a movie. I mean, it's an atrocity that happened in this world. Sure. I'm paying as much respect to it as possible, but we're shooting a movie. Yeah. So like, again, like the outfit and the suit, you know, it was made by Hugo Boss, was like the tailor of the time for those suits. And there is something, when you put those suits on, you do carry yourself differently. That's definitely, I found that when I was there. But it wasn't actually a physical thing or a tangible thing. It was, I want to say, the voice of the character that really became, you know, Dietrich Schneider. It was focusing on his articulation, the rhythm of his speech, the cadence of his speech. That's what it was. And also like learning German and also doing the German accent. That's what it was for me. It was being dropped into his voice, you know, where he was.
Was there a moment when filming where you just thought, man, this is so good? Like, what could have been a thing with Ben? Dude. I mean, I've never had that feeling, but when you're, this is such a good piece that you're in. Okay.
Thanks.
That I have to imagine there was a moment where you're like, man, I'm kicking all sorts of ass right now, or something along those lines. I mean, I guess I imagine there are times when that's not the case, but in this case, there had to have been a moment where you're like, wow, this is good.
I remember there's like that one big scene that Ben and I did, you know, after the big match he has and stuff, and I did my first run at it, and it was a dumpster fire, absolutely dumpster fire, all over the words, accents, like it was just not locked in. And I think, you know, I think Barry was like, let's do it again. You know, let's go for it again. And it's no, I think, do you ever lock in and you go, yeah, it's not a specific, it just became a point where I was easily able to like slide myself in. Like it was a manila envelope and I was just a letter being sent off. It was like, yeah, there's a point you have to like let it go and stop worrying about it to really just be like, fuck, I was there. And like, usually the best times are when you're like, you don't remember kind of what you're doing. You're just so responsive and like reacting to what was presented in front of you. And like, again, Barry Levinson created, you know, the camps and stuff and the rings, and like, you didn't have to fake that. You didn't have to pretend. You look around you and you're just like, Jesus, this is a lot. It's heavy. No, I could not say like, I was like, God damn it, I'm locked in. This is awesome. No, I can't say it. I have to say it every time. I was like, I could do it better. I could do it better.
I mean, I personally think you were locked in from the go, but then again, this was the final edit I saw. I didn't see take one and take two, as you alluded to. Now, you talked about the moment where you slid into that character. Okay. Mm-hmm. Is that what all actors strive for when you're just able to ease into that character? Is that like the chef's kiss as a performer?
I can't really speak for anyone else. But for me, it's a weird balance. Actually, my buddy Corey Stoll said this once. It's a really weird game you play as an actor where you're like, you have to have the liberation and freedom of a child, but the professionalism of an adult. And you're constantly, you know, teetering on this right. wire.
Right.
And the best time I'm slid in is when I feel I am free to play and like make a mistake. If I can make a mistake and I it's okay and just move on. You know, it's not like, oh my God, we're worried about this person. No, it's, so the chef kiss might be knowing your character well enough that as I'm moving through it, I know when I hit a red button, when I'm like, oh, that wasn't right. And I can go back and like edit it myself in a weird way. You know, it's this like freedom to play where the character is alive and going through the world and knowing your boundaries, you know? And like, that's what I relate sometimes acting to like sports, like basketball. There are rules in basketball as there are rules in playing a character. But within those rules in basketball, you have alley-oops, you have amazing plays, you have wild stuff, but then there's fouls, then there's penalties, then there's out of bounds. And I think it's kind of the same way with acting. You create the rules and the arena for your character, and you know when you're out of bounds or there's a flag on the play or, you know, all that stuff. But that's all the work going in before you show up actually to do the job.
Does Schneider think he's a villain?
No, obviously he doesn't. Obviously, again, he is a survivor as well. He knows the hike is going to fall, but also no one's a villain in their own life. He's trying to survive as well. That he thought Harry was his meal ticket out. You know, he's trying to do the best he can for his life. Like when I was doing research for the role, like you had those officers doing atrocities during the weekdays, you know, at the camps. And then on the weekend, they would go to the beach with their family. And you're just like, what? There's this disconnection and that they're just doing their job. And that's what's crazy about it. The blind sheep of this world. That's the devastating part, is that people are blind to sometimes what they're doing.
And that's really what speaks to me about this film, is that you guys are able to capture just the mentality of what was going on, the devastation of what occurred, and did it in such a way that resonates with, I would say, a broad audience. As of course, you have the sport element within it as well. Yeah. And not to mention the fact you've got two amazing performances from yourself and Ben to wrap
Thanks.
in there. I mean, it's a really nice package. I mean, again, this is the best. I'm not saying I didn't like your other stuff. I'm just saying that this is the best thing I've ever seen you do, in my opinion.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, it's the opportunity to play something like this. I think, not saying any other project is less, like, right. I show up to every other project the same way, but again, the opportunity, the story of what's just being told, it feels there's a more like gravity to it all, or there's a, you know, there's an importance in telling a story like this. Sometime, yeah.
I hope you're not busy. You're going to be doing a lot of these award-centric interviews as it comes, I imagine. So just clear.
Do you think so? I don't know what I'm doing with this stuff or how to play the game. I don't know how to do, and I just want to. What do I do, man? I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Well, I think you're doing plenty. I think you're being honest, and I think anytime you do these things, just tell them your process, and when they hear what you did after seeing what the final product is, I think it's going to make these decisions obvious, but that's just coming from my perspective. Billy, I appreciate.
I know, but it's a hype game, isn't it? Isn't it all a hype game and stuff?
Of course it's a hype game. Everything's a hype game. But then there's a hype game, and then there's legitimacy, and then there's what you guys did, and it's a legitimate, phenomenal piece that you and Ben deserve accolades for, and Barry as well. So
thanks, again, man.
That's just my take, and I know there are others who feel the same way. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you so much, Joey. Great seeing you again, man.
Same.